So most women think that weight loss is the goal. But what if preserving muscle is actually the key to aging well, keeping your metabolism strong and feeling good long term? So I'm excited today to have Dr. Luke Bucci. He's a clinical nutritionist that has over 37 plus years of working in the dietary supplement industry. So tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for having me on here. And we're going to have some fun today, too, because I think the bottom line of where weight loss needs to be and is not going. So we're going to learn a lot. But I know muscle because my career has taken me to probably the ultimate muscle building supplement company, which was Weider Nutrition, Joe Weider and the bodybuilders. And I had a bevy of products that were built for muscle production and extreme resistance exercise. So I went as far as you could go with that. And then later in my career, I spent 5 years at First Endurance, which is for ultra endurance athletes. And they're the exact opposite of bodybuilders. They don't want more muscle, but they want muscle that will last and go on forever and ever with whatever they're running, swimming, or riding a bike. So that also means a different kind of muscle. And they both have a little bit pretty much actually the same nutritional requirements, but kind of different supplementation requirements.
Yeah. And tell us, what are you doing now?
And now I'm with Juvenon, and Juvenon is for people, supplements for people over 40. That's the major part of the population that's actually losing muscle mass. And we aren't going to try to fill you up with a lot of bodybuilding products, but we do have a few products that address that issue. And we'll get into that a little bit later, too.
Yeah. And I liked how at the very beginning you said, as we're talking about weight loss and weight loss in a healthy way, sort of the key to that is also having muscle mass, and muscle mass plays a huge deal. So tell us why preserving our muscle mass is such a big deal, especially as we get older and over 40.
Okay, I'll keep this real simple, but our muscles just they're a use it or lose it kind of tissue, and they're the first thing your body will cannibalize if you don't get enough of any kind of nutrition, calories, protein, even carbs and fat. And that is something that we're not really taught or don't really understand because we always are functionally capable. And we know that getting older, especially over 40 and even afterwards, even over 60, you really notice that, hey, I'm not as strong as I was. I don't have the endurance I used to have. So what's going on with the muscles? Well, being, after they're getting cannibalized almost every day, off and on, and rebuilt, they don't get rebuilt as well. So yes, we are losing muscle mass with age, and the curve really starts to go downhill after 40. So this is a perfect opportunity to get people to change that direction.
Yeah. And so people might notice they're not as strong. They might start noticing some of these symptoms of losing muscle mass and sort of tell us, so are we just doomed, or what can we do to help prevent that?
Well, if you sit on your hands, yes, you're doomed. But again, it's a use it or lose it. And if you want to go do endurance exercises, that's fine. But that doesn't really build muscle. It'll keep most of the muscle mass there, but it's not going to get more. And why do you want more muscle mass? Well, you're not going to turn out to be a weightlifter or a bodybuilder type if you lift weights routinely and you don't go to the super resistance training pyramids that you just get more and more weight. That is a whole different ballgame. What I'm really talking about is you need resistance or strength training as much as any endurance training. That's the key. You need to either pump iron or do other kinds of resistance training, isometrics and things that are harder for most people to figure out. But the easiest thing to do is weight circuits, go as far as you want, as far as you can, and try not to overdo it too.
Yeah, that's a big thing, especially sometimes as we get older, we can be a little more prone to injury. So making sure that we are exercising correctly. And just for clarification, so when you're talking endurance, are you talking sort of like running a little more cardio?
Yes, yes. Cardio is fine, but I mean endurance, it's really running, swimming, playing sports as well I mean, like things like jazzercise, that really dates me, doesn't it? But that is those things are good. If you go longer endurance, if you're trying to do marathons or half marathons or really do it like a triathlon, that's a whole different ball game. That does help means helping to get some resistance training with those long-term endurance exercises, but you're not going to get a lot more muscle. You'll get very tuned muscle to endurance kind of contractions, like over and over and over in repetitive contractions. But the whole point here is to get your muscles to burn more calories.
Yeah. And so how do we do that? Is that just doing the resistance training, gaining muscle, weightlifting?
Yes, that allows you actually burn a lot of calories when you're doing the workouts and for the next day or two afterwards.
Hmm.
So that's why a lot of weightlifting is like, okay, upper body one day, lower body the next, because you want to give your muscles time to recover from a good workout. And a workout is something to exhaustion, where you're almost at that point where you're going to either drop the bar on your neck if you're doing a bench press, or you just can't move that machine anymore. You don't you want to get up to that point. You don't want to go past anything because you can still make plenty of muscle and burn plenty of calories getting to that point. So it can be something that's not just grunting and sweating and hurting yourself. No, you do what your muscles will allow you to do. And if you keep with it 2 or 3 times a week, you can notice that your muscles get harder. They might get bigger. Depends on how much and how often you want to work out. And then you also want to make sure you feed yourself right after the exercise so you can get the nutrients into the hungry muscles right away.
Yeah. So I think that is one of the greatest benefits of strength training. It's sort of like that afterburn, because I think some people will look at something that gives them a calorie, and it's like if I'm doing a cardio, like, wow, look, I burned a lot of calories. And when we look at when we're doing strength training, we're burning some calories, but the calculators or the watch doesn't tell us what we're burning the next 48 hours.
Oh no, no! You kind of go with your waistline or whatever you're measuring to see where your fat is. And if you don't, you got to be careful. You don't want to just get so hungry and you overeat. But so that means and you've said this in many of your other podcasts, is how to eat right, and just don't overeat too much. Um, and really, you need to get a little carbs into your body right away after working out. Within the first hour, if you do weight training, strength training, that's when the muscles are hungriest and they're really looking for glucose. It's real simple and it's not a whole bunch because then it gets turned into fat, of course, if you take too much.
Yeah. So how does the carbs help the muscles after exercise?
The energy, it's all about energy because your muscles can store glycogen, which is starch. So it'll break down the glycogen during exercise, assuming that you're working out hard enough to use up or get your blood sugar you starting to be used up. That can't go down too low because your brain doesn't like it. So then your muscles start making their own glucose, but they can't store a lot. It's a very bulky way to store glucose
Mhm.
in storage in your muscles. So that lasts for a good 20, 30 minutes or so. And that's when you start getting just tired and fatigued all over. Um, it's difficult to try to keep the blood glucose up during exercise because your stomach and intestines are not moving as much because your muscles are getting the blood flow, not your gut. So for weight training, it's better to have some carbs beforehand. An electrolyte is perfect, and then the same thing afterwards. And maybe 100 calories for most people is plenty, and that's not a lot.
Yeah. And so tell me, like, when doing strength training and the role of eating protein
And
before,
that's
after.
yeah, sorry I butted in, but that's extremely important because first the muscles need energy, but then they have to repair all these little micro tears and things that we don't really want to think about because it sounds like you're tearing yourself up. Well, not really. What you're doing though is your muscle is sending out little signals. It'll actually pinch off pieces of its membrane to go to the brain saying, hey, look, we just did a hard workout or a medium workout, so you need to turn on hunger, and you need to turn on like a protein fetish, so we can rebuild all those muscle proteins that are taking the hit of the structural stresses. So it gets very mechanical. So that's why you need protein. The protein is necessary to actually get that muscle mass filled up again, and it'll give you a little bit more each time because it's going, okay, we didn't get through that without losing some muscle, so we got to make more muscle. And that's what those little signals that the muscles pinch off to the rest of your body are doing, saying, okay, we need more muscle, so you guys hold off on the protein so we can have it. It's very elegant systems. You don't think about it. But that's why I need the protein. Now, protein with the carbs after exercise is probably the best way to go. So not just carbs after workout, carbs and protein. And that's that. And of course, Leader Nutrition had those like crazy. That kind of pioneered that. So that is, and this kind of makes it fun. Within an hour, it's called a protein shake
Mhm.
with some kind of carbs in it. And you can have other things too. That's fine. Now, that'll get your bodies and your muscles repairing as fast and as well as it can after a strength workout. If you want to go really crazy, then there's things like creatine or beta alanine, and these have been so well studied now that they are just they're legendary. So, but the creatine will make your muscles hold water, which is what makes them stronger and bigger looking. And that sounds terrible. Oh, I don't want to hold water. No, it's in the muscles where you want it. And that's what the stimulus is to make more protein. The beta alanine makes you work during the workouts longer and faster and stronger. Normally, it's used for high intensity types of exercises or running, but it works well with weightlifting too. That's kind of a new thing that nobody was looking at because the endurance people took hold of it, and the bodybuilding people say we're not going to touch that stuff. So in other words, but that's for extreme things that where you want to really make a difference or speed up the process. But I'm looking at the lifetime when I talk about these things because that's what I'm trying to do. And yep, you need to keep doing it. You can't like, oh, okay, I'm going to join a gym, then a month later stop, and then 3 months later join again. You need to do something every week, even if it's once a week, and you know it's once a week. Then do a kind of a whole body exercise
Mhm.
routine.
Yeah, you can definitely lose quicker than you can gain it.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's your body's kind of pantry. If you, it'll break itself down because it's not essential for life. I mean, except for your heart, of course, that's a muscle. It's a different muscle, so it can't stop, and it takes precedence. And then your brain gets everything, most of everything else, except
Mhm.
especially glucose. So the muscles can be sacrificed, and that's why it takes a long time to starve because your muscles say no, 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 and body's going yes, 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 and it reaches an equilibrium, and you slowly lose muscle. But when you lose muscle, you lose strength. So your strength is a good indicator of if you're getting enough exercise for your muscles in strength training. I'm trying to keep this real simple.
Yeah.
I myself never have charted it out like I do this many pounds. I need to go this many. No, just go. Do what you can. It helps to have somebody that knows what they're doing guide you so you don't overdo it at first because that really turns people off. Oh, I'm going to go pump iron. You do as much as you can. You're sore for 3 or 4 days. You go, I ain't doing this. So yeah, start off right. You do want to be a little sore the next day. That's fine. A lot of sore the next 2 or 3 days, you can back off a bit. You'll maintain more muscle that way, and you'll stick with the program, which is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yes, definitely something that you can stick with and stay consistent with. And ideally just for, an average person in their 40s, 50s, 60s, what would be the ideal number of days a week for them to work out and really preserve their muscle mass?
I think it's at least two. If you feel like doing three, you'll get faster results or bigger results, and you'll notice that the more you work, I start going up on the weights a little, like, oh yeah, that 10-pounder bicep curl is, it's like I could do that all day. Okay, go to 12 or 15 or whatever. So that's progressive. That's called progressive resistance training. And that's where you start to put on more muscle. So first you want to get the muscles working so that they can understand what weightlifting is or strength training is. I mean, even push-ups is strength training, right? Or pull-ups off a bar. So whatever you're doing, try to do a little more the next time. And if you can't, that's okay. Try a little more the next time. But sooner or later, you'll just do it. It's like, wait a minute, that was easy. What happened here? So yes, that's the fun part. You control what you're doing, but just remember what setting or what poundage you were doing with each kind of exercise, roughly, and that'll be the best thing to do.
Yeah. And so if you had to convince someone who's, let's say, in their 40s now, but if we look forward to someone like in their 70s and we want them to have muscle mass, because tell us sort of what happens maybe in your 70s if you haven't really had much muscle mass. Like, what would that person have to look forward to?
Well, I'm a poster child for each one of those things because when I got to Eater Nutrition, I just turned 40 and I was the little pencil neck geek scientist. And I had a little belly, and it's like, oh my gosh, all these guys are buff and they're just, in sales and marketing and everybody else. They threw me in the gym and I thought I was going to die. I was so sore that every breath I took hurt because my diaphragm hurt. It's like, ow, ow. So I thought, okay, this is not right. So you stick with it. You stop getting so sore. You progress. I gained 25 pounds of muscle mass, and I had to get my pants the waist was smaller. And the only problem with my pants is that the thighs got big. So I had to get pants with not tight thighs. So so yes, for 40 is pretty easy. You can, 2 or 3 months and you have a pretty good idea of where you're at and how much you need to do. Now, later in life, I'm turning 70 next month. And for the last couple of years, I was not able to exercise, strength exercise regularly at all. And I thought, okay, I'm getting a little belly again and getting pencil legs and pencil necks. And I thought, no. So I joined a gym, and I have to say I did gain about 15 pounds, which is plenty for now, and I'm still going. But for example, the leg press is my favorite exercise. You get in the sled and push the weights up with your legs. And now my pants are getting to be a little tight in the thighs. And my wife said, she took a look at me. She said, your legs are getting big. What are you doing? I says, I'm working out. She does aerobics. So yes, even at 70, you can get muscle mass back. And I'm lagging on the upper body because it's just more fun to do legs because you're pushing a lot of weight that if I goof up, I'm going to be flat as a pancake. No, it's
Yeah.
not that bad. So yeah, yes, even at 50, 60, 70, you can still build muscle. Now, I will admit I'm using creatine and I just take the 5 grams every day, and that's good enough for me. I don't think you need the huge amounts of it. That way, you go at your own pace, and by golly, it took me about 2 or 3 months to really get stronger. And then 6 months later, it was like, I need new pants again.
Yeah. So do you take the creatine just when you do strength training or every day?
I take it every day, but I also take it for the brain because your muscles and your brain are the only tissues that actually have creatine and use it, and your heart too, a little bit. That's because it's your backup for your energy production compound called ATP that runs everything. So in muscles and your brain and your heart, of course, it's a muscle, your body has enzymes that will take the creatine and charge it up. And then it has other enzymes that when you need more ATP on demand and your levels are dropping in your cells, well, the brain's not going to let ATP go away. So it'll use it anytime, like you're thinking real hard or whatever your brain does, it needs ATP fast. So it can make its own ATP from creatine. It's not really mechanically efficient if you're a physiologist, let's say, but it works. And for muscles, gosh, you can really notice a big difference. You can do 2 or 3 more reps. You can go higher in weights compared to not using creatine. And that's for just your normal average type of person, not trying to be a bodybuilder, but that's why it helps the brain as well as your muscles. And since with my job, being a scientist is all about the brain, I think I need more help as I get up in years. And I'm still loving every bit of it.
Yeah, the brain is huge. Yeah, I haven't heard about that with creatine and the brain. But obviously, that's a big one to preserve and keep functioning well as we age.
Yeah, I actually started taking more creatine before working out for the brain, and then thought, now I'm taking creatine. I should try to build more muscle. And yeah, it works. So that I think is the most essential supplement. There's all sorts of other things you can take, but really creatine is most important if you're trying to build muscle. Realize that you're going to urinate more because you're holding more water. And why you don't? And most people, I don't want to hold water. What are you talking about? Okay, here's the way I describe this to people. All right, your muscles are like imagine your muscle is a water balloon, and now you're in a water balloon fight. So you get this water balloon, and it's half filled and it's real floppy. You throw it at somebody, it's going to bounce off. Doesn't transmit the force. If you pump up that water balloon and you throw it, it hits something and boom, because that force of projectile reverberated throughout the muscle. And that's what creatine does, is it fills your muscles up with water also, as well as being the backup for more ATP. So that every time you make a contraction, that contraction is actually stronger just because of having more water in your muscles. So it's not a loose, floppy muscle anymore. So you may notice harder muscles before even bigger muscles. So that's the secret behind creatine that nobody's really talking about, but you just have to think about what's the body doing. So that reverberation of those muscular forces are what creatine is helping out. So you want that extra water. And what happens if you stop taking creatine, then you just sort of pee like a racehorse for a few days because your muscles are going, okay, we don't need this anymore, get rid of it. So that's why I do it every day.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So for, let's say, a woman over 40 who's just working out 20 or 30 minutes a few times a week, starting with some strength training, what are the top nutritional, like dietary things you might recommend? And then maybe like 1 or 2 supplements that might work well for her too.
Yeah. On the nutrition side, you want to make sure you're getting protein at every meal. I mean, not like a steak kind of diet, but you want to get some protein. It doesn't matter if it's plant or animal. Eggs are probably kind of like Rocky, the first picture where he's glugging raw eggs. That's kind of overboard, but protein with each meal is a good idea. And then, as I said before, depending upon your lifestyle, a little bit of carb right before, so you have some energy for the muscles that it's looking for, glucose, without too much. And then definitely afterwards, within a half hour or so, some kind of glucose and protein. And so that's what is, I think, easy to fit in anybody's lifestyle. Now, for the supplements, again, I said the ideal supplement would be creatine. I think people around 100 pounds can do fine with 2 or 3 grams at first, and go up to 5 grams when you're really starting to get muscle mass. And people over 150 or so should take at least 5 grams. The sports people are saying to do that 3 or 4 times a day, but I find that's too much for most people unless you're truly an athlete that are in the gym every day all the time. So really, that 3 to 5 grams of creatine a day. I like a liposomal creatine, which makes it dissolve better because it's really not well dissolving. So I think that makes it much easier, and you can always dump other things in your drink with it too.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Luke, for being on the podcast. Go ahead and let us know where we can get in contact with you and anything else you want to share.
Okay. I'm at juvenon.com, and I think we have a Q&A thing somewhere on there. I hardly ever look at our website because I guess I work there, so I don't have to do it. But yeah, juvenon.com, Juvenon. I'm very glad to answer some questions as long as um, what the people that the marketing people let me know, and that's fun. And Juvenon does have, we don't have muscle specific products, but we have products for energy and metabolism, and that's pretty self-evident if you take a look. So if you're finding an energy drain rather and need some metabolic help, there's plenty of things to look at there.
Well, perfect. All right. Well, thank you for being on the podcast today. And I'll have all those links in the description for everyone.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle. I hope people just get out and start with the legs and don't need to pump iron, but you need to exercise and make it a little harder each time. And then you'll get to good a good amount of muscle. You'll feel better every which way.
Yes. I haven't heard someone start strength training with me and not feel better. Yes. All right. Have a good day, everyone, and keep on moving.